Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Almost 24 years ago, my family and I stopped speaking to each other. I was 25 at the time. I was engaged to my long-term boyfriend who had been with me since I was in college. Let's call him Jerry. He was the one who proposed to me. But 6 months later, I found out that he had been cheating on me with my sister. Let's call her Rita. She is 2 years younger than me, and I always thought that we got along well enough. But clearly that was not the case, because if we did, then she wouldn't have done that. The two of them spoke to me and broke the news on their own one day, saying that they wanted to do the decent thing and own up to their mistakes. They told me that they had been hooking up behind my back for several months, pretty much right after the engagement, because Rita had confessed that she had always liked him, and even when we had been dating, she had had her eye on him. He ended up falling for her too, even though he had no intention of betraying me in the beginning. But he couldn't help it. I was obviously devastated, so I broke off the engagement, and I expected my parents to understand why I did not want to talk to my sister anymore, but they didn't. Instead, they insisted that I forgive both of them somehow, because now, apparently, all the plans that were being made for my wedding were now being changed for their wedding. It was a horrible time for me, and eventually I stopped speaking to them at all because I knew that they would not understand. On the day that I was supposed to get married to Jerry, Rita and Jerry ended up getting married in the same venue. And after that, I made up my mind that I was never going to have anything to do with these people again. And in order to support me, even a lot of people from the family, most importantly, my grandparents on both sides, did not attend that wedding and haven't spoken to my family since. That obviously did not sit right with them, and that turned them against me even more, because they thought that I was going out of my way to make myself look like the victim. Which doesn't even make sense, because I really was the victim in that situation. But anyway, they thought that I was pretending to be more hurt than I really was, just so that everybody in the family would hate me. And so my family started taunting me just to get back at me, because nobody else in the family was supporting them. They sent me a bunch of pictures via email of Jerry and Rita kissing and looking blissful during the ceremony, even though there were very few people, and it was clearly done to taunt me. I know that even though there was no caption or anything else, but whatever. I just deleted that message and decided to try and move on from it. Unfortunately, they couldn't let me do that either. I had blocked that email address. I tried to stop thinking about all of it, but every few months they would send me photos from their lives to taunt me. I tried everything. I changed my email address, my phone number, and at one point when I had saved up enough money, I even moved to another apartment. But one way or the other, they would always find a way to get to me. They would either send me emails from a new account to my new account, or send me photos to my new apartment, and stuff like that. I knew that it was probably some relative of ours giving out my contact info, but I didn't know who it was, because I had asked a lot of people, and I had requested everyone not to let them know anything. But I knew that somebody or the other was talking to them. So eventually it came to a point where I felt like I couldn't even trust anyone. So I ended up cutting everybody out of my life apart from my grandparents and a couple of friends. I was extremely lonely and depressed, and I didn't know what to do. This went on for almost 2 to 3 years. But then they had their first child, and they finally stopped taunting me. After that, it was an uphill climb to heal from whatever I had been through. But honestly, I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone again anytime soon. Today, of course, I'm married and have a happy family, but it took me a very, very long time to get over all of that. I've been with my husband for the past 14 years, and we have a 12-year-old daughter together as well. It took me a long time to heal from everything, but I think I'm doing well now. However, that does not mean that I have forgiven and forgotten everything. I don't think I can ever do that, especially given what they did after they got married and stuff. The way they taunted me for years, I don't think that's forgivable. If I wanted to, I could very easily ruin their lives by somehow trying to reach out to their kids, because I've heard from other family members who I have reconnected with over the years that they have 2 children now, a 21-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. And I'm pretty sure that they would not appreciate their children finding out about anything that happened all those years ago. I know their names, And if I wanted to, I could very easily have reached out to them on social media because it's much easier now and told them the truth about everything. But I did not because I had moved on with my life, and I did not want anything to do with them. I just wanted to forget about that phase and let it all go. Unfortunately for them, it was their children who actually decided to reach out to me a few days back, and that's how they found out everything now. So, apparently just like me, my parents and my sister had also removed every single trace of my existence from their lives. There were no photos of me, no proof that I ever even existed in their family. But unfortunately, there were some old photos that they forgot to throw away. Maybe that my nephew found in the attic in one of our old family photo albums. Obviously, they asked their parents about it, and my sister told them that I was apparently a childhood friend that they had lost touch with, and my parents corroborated that story. That would have been the end of it if my niece and nephew believed that. But thankfully, they're smart enough to know lies, and they could figure out that my sister and my parents were lying to them. So they decided to ask around, and thankfully they spoke to one of my cousins, who was on my side initially, but she has kept in touch with my parents out of a sense of obligation, because her parents had received a lot of financial help from my parents. So, of course, she owed it to them. And honestly, this is the first time that I've actually been happy about the connection with her, because she's the one who told the kids about the truth regarding everything that had happened all those years ago, and that's how they found out. Of course, after finding out exactly what their parents had done, they decided to confront my sister and my ex-fiance about it, and they were scandalized, and even my parents got involved trying to tell them that it was all lies and stuff like that. But I guess they got too defensive or something because my niece and nephew both figured out that their parents and grandparents were all lying to them, and in all probability, the version of things that they had heard from my cousin was actually the truth. And they were so disgusted by it that they decided to track me down on social media and ask me about what had really happened. And thanks to my cousin, they had been able to find me as well. Of course, just because I had moved on did not mean that I had forgiven them. So I did not mince my words. And when I realized that these were my sister's kids talking to me about all that had happened, I told them the whole truth and did not hide anything at all. And they were so disgusted by their parents' actions that they apologized to me on behalf of their parents and my family. And they also told me that they are not speaking to their family right now, and that they were moving out until my family apologized to me. And if they did not, they would have nothing to do with their family afterwards. It was actually pretty touching because I knew that it was pointless to expect anything of the sort from my sister and my parents. But the fact that they had taken such a strong stand for me without even knowing me meant a lot to me. I guess the apples had really fallen very, very far from the tree, and I was truly happy and grateful that, if not my family, at least these two, had chosen to talk to me and acknowledge their parents' mistakes. I replied to them. I told them that I was very happy that they had taken such a strong stand for me, but I was also quite worried for them. Luckily, I guess they're responsible kids, and they let me know that there was nothing to be worried about, and that they are quite smart about their decisions. Anyway, keeping all that aside, of course, I knew that this was bound to have repercussions soon, because, of course, as soon as the kids moved out of their house, my family started blaming me for everything that had happened. My sister and my fiance are very upset. They are posting about everything on social media, accusing me of ruining their lives and turning their children against them. My sister has even gone to the extent of saying that I am still not over my ex-fiance, which is why I did something like this, just to get back at them after more than 2 decades. My parents are also supporting them, which is unsurprising. But the most concerning part is that a couple of relatives who had mostly stayed neutral throughout this whole thing have also started supporting my family. And they also seem to be of the opinion that there was no need for me to interact with my niece and nephew and tell her the truth about all that happened, because it had happened many, many years ago. And by now, I should have moved on and forgiven them. Now, by bringing up everything that had happened, and especially by talking to their children about it, I was digging up the past for no reason. And right now, they don't think that I deserve any sympathy, and they believe that I'm in the wrong here. I don't know what to think about that, because honestly, I don't think that I did anything wrong. I was asked about what had happened all those years ago, and I decided to be honest about it. Why would I lie about it anyway? I did not do anything wrong, and I'm not responsible for how their children perceive them. If they wanted their children to think that they are good people, then they probably should have been good people. That's really not my fault. But anyway, Am I an idiot for telling my niece and nephew the truth about what their parents did 24 years ago? Edit. So, what I really meant by my niece and nephew being responsible is that I was kind of worried about the decision that they had made. I appreciated the fact that they had such strong opinions on what had happened. It just showed that they were decent people, willing to do the right thing, but also I was worried that they were not taking into account practical considerations like money and stuff. Because both of them are very young. My niece is about to start college in a couple of months, and my nephew, being slightly older, is still in college and hasn't even graduated. So, they don't have much money of their own. They rely on their parents, and that's why I was kind of worried about what they would do if they moved out and cut ties with their family. Which is why I spoke to them about it, because I did not want them to do anything that would end up hurting them in the future. Whatever had happened was all in the past. I did not want these kids to screw up their own lives for my sake. So when they had told me that they were moving out and cutting ties with their family, I had told them to think about it twice. And I had also told them that they really did not need to do all of this for me, because I had moved on, and I had made a life for myself which was much better than the one I left behind. However, they told me that they were doing this because they couldn't bring themselves to look at their parents the same way again, and that I did not need to worry about any of that other stuff, because it was going to be taken care of. And I should have known because they do have their paternal grandparents, my ex-fiance's parents. Even back when all the drama with me, my sister, and my ex was taking place, they were not very happy about what their son was up to. But since it was my fiance's decision, they decided to support him, even though they were unwilling. They only had one kid, so I can kind of understand the kind of pressure they were under. Anyway, now that grandkids had found out the truth and wanted to stop staying with their parents, Jerry's parents were more than happy to take them in and support them. And that's why my niece and nephew told me that they have nothing to be worried about, and they were being responsible about all of this. So that's what I meant. And I'm glad that they have somebody on their side. Jerry's parents were good people. I really got along well with them back when we were together, and I can tell that they were upset about everything that had happened. But at the end of the day, they had only one son, so I don't hold that against them. It was my parents who disappointed me, and even now they have continued that streak of letting me down. Not an idiot. OP didn't ruin anyone's life. The truth did. OP didn't seek out her niece and nephew. OP didn't hunt them down, and OP didn't dump this information on them unprompted. They came to OP because they already knew something was wrong, and their parents were lying to their faces. At that point, honesty is not cruelty. It's basic respect. OP's sister and ex chose to build their marriage on betrayal, and then spent decades actively erasing OP and harassing her. They don't get to control the narrative forever, just because it makes them look bad. And now let's hear community's opinion. What really seals this for me is the years of taunting. This wasn't a one-time affair and apology situation. They married on your wedding day, sent you photos to hurt you, stalked you through changing emails, numbers, and apartments, and never once showed remorse. That's not moving on. That's sustained emotional abuse. People love to say it was so long ago, while ignoring the fact that your family kept reopening the wound over and over. You don't owe silence to people who never stopped hurting you. Your niece and nephew are adults, not toddlers. A 21-year-old and an 18-year-old are capable of forming their own moral judgments, especially when they discover their parents lied about a major family truth for their entire lives. You didn't force them to cut contact. You even warned them to think carefully about practical consequences. They still chose distance because they couldn't reconcile who they thought their parents were with who they actually are. That's on their parents, not you. The relatives saying you should have forgiven and forgotten are doing it for their own comfort, not your healing. Forgiveness is personal, not mandatory, and it certainly doesn't require lying to protect people who never apologized. Also, forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. Your sister and ex built their lives on a lie, and eventually lies surface. If they wanted their kids to respect them, they should have acted in ways worthy of respect. You didn't weaponize the truth. You simply refused to keep carrying their secret. Update 1. Hi everyone. Okay, so I'll first apologize for the inconsistent use of the fake names. To be honest, I'm not used to calling them by these names, obviously. So I was switching between referring to them by their names or just calling them my sister and my ex-fiance. and I'm guessing it made things a bit complicated unnecessarily. My apologies for that. But anyway, moving on. So, it's been a couple of days, and I've spoken to my husband about everything that's going on, and he has told me that I don't have anything to worry about. I'm not the one responsible for any of this. I don't have to feel sorry for any of this. And I'm not the one who betrayed my sister and broke her heart all those years ago, and continued to taunt her for a couple of years afterwards, just because the rest of the family was against me. That was all them. And if they can do these things, then they should be able to face the repercussions of these things. That's it. And he also told me that this is not my doing. This is just karma catching up with them after a very long time. And it's about time that they realize that instead of trying to pin it on me whichever way they can. I had been feeling very skeptical about my part in all of this specifically, because some people from the family had actually been on their side, and that was what was throwing me off. Because the last time everyone had been on my side. So that's why I was a little confused. But after speaking to my husband, and also after reading the comments here, I think I don't have anything to worry about. And I think that if my grandparents were here with me, they would tell me the same thing. Like I said in my original post, it's not as if I reached out to the kids myself. They reached out to me. They asked me about everything, and all I did was tell them the truth. How is it my fault if the truth makes them look bad and makes their kids want to cut them off? Anyway, I have decided that I'm not going to let any of that get to me. I'm going to live my life the way I have so far, and I'm not going to let these petty things bother me. It's not as if I can see their posts and their comments or anything. I only found out about it because my cousins and a few of my other family members have been sending it to me, but I have told them not to tell me anything about them. I'm just not interested. This way, I don't have to hear about them. I don't have to think about them, and I can go on with my life the way I have so far. I'm not willing to complicate situations for myself anymore. I'm going to do whatever I think is right, and if it makes other people feel bad, then that's honestly on them. Update 2. So, it's been a week since my last update. I had started ignoring everything to do with my family for the past couple of days, and it was quite peaceful. But, of course, since now we are rehashing all the drama that had taken place 24 years ago, they have decided yet again that they are not going to let me have my peace. Unfortunately for them, this time I'm not the same person that I was 24 years ago. Last evening, Rita and Jerry showed up at my house. I don't know who told them where I live, but I'm pretty sure it had to be a family member. I guess I'm just going to have to go back to my old way and start cutting off everyone who I'm not very close with and don't trust implicitly. Anyway, when they showed up, my husband and my daughter were not at home. I had stayed back because I was really tired after work, but my husband and my daughter had plans to visit my in-laws yesterday. So, unfortunately, I ended up being at home at the time that they chose to show up. And the cherry on top was that I was watching TV in the living room and drinking wine, and I was pretty loud because I was home alone. So when they showed up, they could hear the TV blaring. And of course, I couldn't even pretend not to be at home. Of course, when they rang the doorbell and I could see them through the intercom camera, I decided to ignore them for a couple of minutes, just so they would go away on their own. But they didn't. Instead, my sister started screaming, saying that she knew that I was at home, and that there was no use pretending that I wasn't because she had heard the TV and all the lights were on. And the least I could do after everything that I had done was have the guts to face her. I found it laughable that she was talking about everything that I had done given the real reason behind our feud. Anyway, I continued to ignore her while she kept on screaming outside the door, demanding that I open up, talk to her, and somehow fix the situation with her children because apparently I'm the one who ruined it. So now it's somehow my responsibility to talk to them and tell them that they need to speak to their parents and sort things out. This is all the rubbish she was blabbering outside my door. But I just continued to ignore her because I didn't want to get involved and give her the satisfaction of getting a reaction out of me. After a while, because I was not saying anything, I guess Jerry lost it, and he started banging on the door, and he was pretty loud with it, so it was kind of concerning. I was afraid he might break down the door somehow, even though it was unlikely that he would be able to do it. But he was screaming and shouting, and so was she. And they were banging on the door, and I was really scared. So I decided to rush to the bedroom. I locked myself in, and I decided to call the cops. And after I had done that, I called my husband up as well, and I told him what was going on, and I told him that I had called the cops. He told me that he would rush back home, and he actually stayed on the phone with me for almost 10 minutes while he made his way back home. Thankfully, my in-laws live close by, so it was not that inconvenient and didn't take him very long. He left our daughter at his parents' place because he knew that things might get ugly here, and we did not want her to see anything like that. Anyway, when he showed up, I could hear him arguing outside the house with Jerry and Rita. That was when I finally decided to get out of my bedroom and open the door so I could be by my husband's side. It was all incoherent, to be honest. Everyone was shouting at each other, and within a couple of minutes, the cops also showed up. They dragged Rita and Jerry away, and of course, them being the kind of people that they are, they couldn't stand to leave in a dignified way. They started cursing me out. They were screaming the worst obscenities that they knew, telling me that I had ruined their life and everything, and that they were going to teach me a lesson of a lifetime soon enough, that the cops couldn't stop them and all of that. It was insane, and it was really very scary because they were acting unhinged, and I didn't trust them. So after they were gone, my husband and I spoke about it, and we decided that we were going to have to file a restraining order against them because they were literally threatening us. And it wasn't just about us. We were more concerned about our daughter. We wouldn't let anything happen to her. So we have decided that we are going to file for a restraining order soon. Apart from that, we've also made sure to save the security camera footage from outside the house yesterday on multiple devices because I think we're going to need it. Anyway, after this, I don't have any doubts in my mind about whether what I did was the right thing to do or not. It undoubtedly was, and I'm very proud of myself for continuing to stand up for myself against them and everyone. Update 3. Hey, so my husband and I have filed for a restraining order against Rita and Jerry. It's been 2 weeks since the incident, and I think we're going to get it pretty soon. That's not much trouble for us. We also spoke about what had happened on social media because I think that it was about time that we spoke up about it, instead of letting everyone think that they were the victims here. They have never been the victims, and that's a fact. And we were not going to let them get away with it, trying to portray themselves as the ones suffering right now, when they had caused all their own suffering. Their kids are refusing to speak to them because of their own fault. That's it. And this incident just proved it. They have never deserved my forgiveness. And the recent incident just goes to show that I was completely right to tell their children what had really happened. Of course, the people who had been on our side all along were still on our side and supported us in the comments. And a few people who had been saying that I was wrong earlier changed their minds as well. But it doesn't matter, because I've already decided that I'm only going to speak to people who I can trust implicitly. And that's it, because I know that somebody had definitely betrayed my trust by telling my sister where I live. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Only the people who have been on my side all along have been there for me. They are the only ones who are going to remain a part of my life, and that is my decision. Anyway, since we do follow each other on social media now, my niece and nephew also reached out to me after reading that post, and I told them everything that had happened recently, and they told me that this just makes their resolve even stronger. They once again apologized to me for what their parents did, and I had to tell them that it's not their fault, so they don't have to keep saying sorry. I'm embarrassed of my parents as well, and in fact, I think the correct word would be ashamed. But I'm very happy that they are such sweet kids. I totally have no idea how they were born to Rita and Jerry, because I think they are the worst people that I know on this entire planet. They have confided in me that they were never very close with their parents anyway, because their parents always prioritized their own social lives and everything else above their kids. So they were basically raised by their nannies. I guess that finally helped me make sense of why exactly they are nothing like their parents, and I'm very glad that they're not. I'm happy that they are good, decent people, and I hope that they grow up to get everything that they want more. I have invited them over for lunch next week, and I really hope that they're able to make it. As much as I hate my family, I've grown very fond of these kids in a very short span of time. I'm very grateful that they found out about me, and that they turned out to be such wonderful children. Update 4. Hey, it's been a week since my last update. A few days ago, I had my niece and nephew over for lunch, and we had a really fun time together. They got along very well with their cousin as well, my daughter, and she's already very excited to see them again sometime soon. My nephew's holidays are ending in a couple of days, so he's going to go back to college, and my niece is leaving in a couple of months. Their paternal grandparents, Jerry's parents, are going to be supporting them financially. And surprisingly, they told me that Jerry's parents wanted to let me know that they were very apologetic for everything that had happened all those years ago. So that was a good thing about the restraining order. We got one against them for 2 years, and we are very happy about it. At least now, if they don't want to get in trouble, they're going to have to stay away from us. The last couple of weeks were very stressful, but I can tell that the situation is improving now, and I'm very grateful for it. I can finally go back to my old life now, and it's been a long couple of weeks. I really just can't wait to feel like everything is normal once again.